Hi, everybody. My name is Jennifer, and I am the manager of I've Squared at the New Haven Free Public Library. And I am super excited to have Barb and Shantel and Julia here today. Julia, I believe this is your last program as our entrepreneur in residence.
So this is, officially my last program as entrepreneur in residence. I am entrepreneur in residence until June 30th, 2022, which is, whatever day it is, 10 days. No, wait, 15 days.
Yep.
Wow. Like, I remember like when it was September 1st and I was announcing that I was entrepreneur in residence, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited, and it's 10 months and I have to like squeeze all this stuff in, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's almost over. So just a quick plug, get your office hours in for the next couple of weeks.
That's right.
So it's Tuesdays from 11:30 to 1:30. Thursdays 6 to 8. I wanted to have an evening time for people who have to work during the day, or whatever. And then on Fridays 2 to 4. And we still have a Calendly up for me until that period of time. So schedule, sometimes it's 30 minutes. I should count. I don't know how many people that I've worked with over this 10-month period, but it's been
like
a lot.
That's amazing.
Okay, so let's introduce. We have Barb Nangle. I'm gonna try because I love everybody here. Barb Nangle with Higher Power Coaching. I'm gonna have each of you introduce yourself, what you do, and then go right into the program, because I saw that there's a presentation and we have a lot to go over. And then Shantel is here with us as well from Innovative Consulting. I'm super excited. And so we've done like a mashup here because we're talking about budgeting, right? We're talking about something that's usually seen in a very financial kind of mode. And we're talking about boundaries, which oftentimes we think about like personal boundaries. But when you bring the two of these together, you have like just a very powerful kind of presentation, understanding that when you're running a business, well, you're going to talk about it, right? What happens when you have financial boundaries in a business? So take it away.
Shantel, you want to go first?
Sure. Thank you, Barb. And thank you again, Julia, Jennifer, for having us. I'm very excited to be here. Again, my name is Shantel Garcia. I'm the owner and founder of Innovative Consulting and Solutions. I partner with entrepreneurs and executives to help them build systems that will help them better manage their finances. And these different systems vary from budgeting and financial planning to bookkeeping services, as well as bookkeeping training. I have over 16 years of accounting experience. I started my career off as a bookkeeper and worked my way up as a CFO, overseeing facilities, IT, budgeting, finance, operations, capital improvements, and have spent the last year and a half in my business really working one-on-one with entrepreneurs and businesses to get their back end and their back office in order. So it has been a pleasure, and I love these opportunities to bring all of this knowledge, to many other individuals who need help. And want to learn more about a better manage their finances. So thank you again for having me.
Thanks, Chantel. Hi, everybody. I'm Barb Nangle. I'm the founder and CEO of Higher Power Coaching and Consulting. I am a boundaries coach, and I'm also the host of the podcast Fragmented to Whole, Life Lessons from 12-Step Recovery. So I am someone who grew up with no boundaries, didn't even realize it. And I got into 12-step recovery when I was 52. I'm 59 now. And I learned how to have healthy boundaries through a series of wonderful events. I became a coach and decided to hone in on boundaries coaching specifically for several reasons. One, every single client I ever worked with needed help with boundaries. Two, I'm really good at helping people to form healthy boundaries because I know what it feels like in my body to not have healthy boundaries, and I know what it feels like to have them. And three, I really wanted to have some kind of a niche. And the thing about boundaries is they permeate every single area of your life, including your finances. Mm-hmm. And the way that this came about is that I actually work with Chantel as my financial thought partner with my business. And the more and more conversations we had, the more we realized, man, there's a huge overlap between boundaries and finances. And I'm someone who, in 1999, when my student loans came due, I declared bankruptcy because I had racked up so much credit card debt because of my lack of boundaries. And I just wasn't able to handle the student loans on top of that. And I've had to transform my financial behaviors, radically. And I now own a home. I bought that in 2008, but I still have some thought work that I need to do, which is why I need Shantel as a thought partner. And I also have some habits that I need to hone. And that's another reason why I work with her. And so in our work together, we realized, if we came together and talked about this stuff, we think that we could probably help people more. So we did a series of IG Lives about this, and it was really well received. And so Julia reached out to us and asked us if we would help. So what I do is I do individual and I do group coaching to empower people to form healthy boundaries in their lives so they can live their lives on purpose. I didn't know that I wasn't living my life on purpose until I got healthy boundaries. And so one of the most important boundaries, especially as a business person, you can have is a budget. So Shantel, are we ready to launch into the presentation? You think we're ready for that? Okay, so I'm going to
Absolutely, yes.
share my screen.
And thank you for that intro and diving into how the two have, come together. Because you hear boundaries, like Julia said, boundaries and finances, like what?
Yeah,
Different spectrum. Yeah.
So here we are. We'll have our contact information on the last page if you want to follow up with either one of us. But we are going to first talk about boundaries. And I got to put a clock in front of me. Otherwise, I'm not, because I could talk forever. And Shantel, of course, feel free to hop in at any time. So what are boundaries? Boundaries are standards or limits that you have for your life that you set up for your own life. What most people think about when they think about boundaries is how we communicate them to other people. So there's standards we have for our lives that we try our best to live up to, and then we communicate them to other people. And then the other part that people have a really hard time with is enforcing them. And an example of a boundary is a budget. It helps us set limits and rules for how we're going to manage our money, whether it's for our own lives or for our businesses. Do you want to add anything, Shantel, before I go to the next slide?
I would say definitely on the limits, and setting the limits, as you had mentioned. We have a boundary, we set our limits, we have the tendency to go over the limits. So obviously we're not respecting our own boundaries, right? So just keeping that in mind as we work through this presentation.
Right. And one thing I want to add in terms of going over on limits, that's true about regular personal boundaries too. Setting boundaries is an experimental process. And there's a balance to it. And so the thing about balance is we tend to think balance is I get to a point and I stay there. But when you think about, like, if you're balancing on one foot, this is what you're doing. Balance is I'm constantly diddling with whatever's going on. Same thing with a boundary and same thing with a budget. You have a goal that you're trying to achieve and you do your best to achieve it. But when you don't, that's information for you to understand. So I like to think of it as info, not ammo. It's information for you to understand and learn and grow about. It is not ammunition for you to beat yourself up about. All right, so people are teachable. This includes you. So if you have never been good with money, if you have never been good with boundaries, that's okay. You are teachable and you can learn. I am a perfect example. I'm living proof of that. Not only was I horrible with boundaries, I was horrible with money. And now I'm a homeowner and a business owner, right? Anything you want to add there, Shantel?
No, you got it.
All right. So the thing about boundaries is that in order to decide what the right boundaries are, they should align with your values. That's one of the questions that I get when I'm coaching clients is they realize, well, I don't know what my limits are. I don't know what I like and what I don't like. And so what I tell them to do is to start with your values. When you start with your values and you focus on what's important to you, you're able to make choices about your life ahead of time and then live in line with them. The same is true with your budget. You're going to set your budget based on your values. So I'll let you take over about the alignment with values and budgets there, Chantel.
Absolutely. So when you think about number one, your business, you have to have a sense of what your values are, your mission, and your vision, right? That's really going to help you establish what you're going to entertain, what your business is going to, um, who your audience is, the people that you're going to work with, all those different things, which we'll go into a little bit more. But if you, number one, have an idea of what those values are, you're going to be a better steward over your finances and be a better steward over managing your bank balance, thinking about your budget, thinking about the decisions that you're going to make around your finances. I'm trying not to give too much now because I want to get into it a little bit later, but just kind of just making these connections here based off of what Barb is saying.
Okay, we'll go on to the next one. So here's the thing. You are responsible for enforcing your boundary. Other people are not. I think this is the biggest misconception that I get with clients and prospective clients. They think I'm going to set a boundary and then people are going to honor it. And if they don't, it's them. But really, it's you because it's your boundary. It's for you to enforce. Now, most of the time, when you set a boundary with someone, um, you're going to say, hey, for example, I want you to knock on my door before you enter my office. And if they don't, you just repeat it again because most people either forgot because you never did it before, or they're just not used to the new behavior. It's not because they're jerks and they are disrespectful, though there are some people like that. But most of the time, the consequence is you just repeat yourself. But the thing about people learning how to set boundaries is most of us are not used to directly communicating with other people. The thing about boundaries is they are clear, not murky, which means your communication needs to be clear, not murky. So please knock on the door before coming in. Not, hey, remember that time when I asked you to knock on my door before you came in and you didn't really do, like none of that. Just be direct. It's not impolite. In fact, it's more polite to get right to the point. You don't need to be a jerk about it. But I know for me, when I didn't have healthy boundaries and people communicated directly to me, I actually thought they were being rude because I just wasn't used to that. I grew up in a family where, boundaries weren't really a thing. So you beat around the bush with people. You can't do that. And so you don't want to beat around the bush. And you also want to be explicit about what the consequences are. So I know this is a really kind of a dumb example to say, please knock on the door before coming into my office, but you can get it, right? So if somebody keeps walking into your office without knocking on the door, you can say, I'm going to have to ask you to leave and come back. And if they won't do it, you get up and you walk them out the door and you say, all right, let's try that again. And you let them know, like, I'm serious. I'm not messing around here. So you're very explicit that you're not going to get my attention if you keep walking in the door and not knocking on it before you come in. All right. Do you want to talk about you being responsible to enforce your financial boundaries here, or do you want to leave that until later?
Yeah, I'll cover a lot of this. Yeah, thank you.
All right. So one type of boundary that is really helpful when it comes to finances is what I call boundaries of self-containment. These are things that we need to contain or stop doing. And I can tell you right now, of all the different types of boundaries that I learned, these are the ones that showed the most improvement in my life. In other words, when I stopped doing a bunch of things, my life improved dramatically. So non-financial boundaries of self-containment that are examples of that are, I used to gossip. I actually didn't even realize that what I was doing was gossiping, which is kind of crazy because I'm not stupid, but I didn't understand. So I needed to contain that. When I stopped gossiping, I found that the things that I was gossiping about and complaining about seemed so much smaller than they ever did before. And I was able to contain the chaos and stop the spread of chaos. Another type of boundary of self-containment that I implemented that really just affected me and not other people was I had a lot of negative self-talk. that I didn't even realize. And once I realized it, I realized I have to stop that. Nobody else can stop that for me. And so as soon as I realize I've got this negative self-talk going, I need to contain it and stop doing it. And for me personally, I need to replace it with something else, like an affirmation. That's the kind of boundary of self-containment that really only affects me. Now, these are really important boundaries when it comes to finances. So I'll let you take over from there, Chantel.
Sure. If you can go to the, I believe it's the next slide.
Oh,
If
actually,
you
yeah,
want to continue.
yeah, this is a whole new kind of boundary. So do you want to
Like I
talk
said,
about?
there's a lot of this that I'm covering later. So
Oh,
I
okay, all
just
right.
wanted to
So then
keep
I'll
going.
just talk
Yeah.
about regular boundaries.
Mhm.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Okay. So the next thing I want to talk about, people with healthy boundaries let good things in as well as keeping bad things out. So most of us are pretty clear. When I have healthy boundaries, I want to protect myself from like chaotic people or dysfunction or just things that really bother me. But the other thing that healthy boundaries do is they allow us to let good things in. People that don't have healthy boundaries usually are really helpful to others. They perhaps rescue and save and fix and enable other people. And that means that they often don't let good things in, like help and support. So we don't want to just keep the bad things out, which when we're talking about our business and our finances, those are going to be things that don't serve our goals and our values. And when we want to let good things in, we want to accept support and advice from other people. So, me working with Chantel and allowing her to help me, like, honestly, the first few times I met with her, I was like, I'm just like riddled with like guilt and shame because I don't know what I'm doing. But here's the thing, of course, I don't know what I'm doing because I never had a business before. So, I allowed the help and the support in, and I had her like teach me how to use QuickBooks and teach me what a P&L is and teach me what a balance sheet is and all that sort of thing. Okay, here you go.
Well, no, thank you, Barb, for teeing it up. I think it's always so important to set that foundation of what a boundary is because people hear about it, they talk about it, they see a physical boundary, but they don't know how it necessarily applies to their personal lives. But as you had mentioned, we saw a correlation between personal finances and business finances, and then personal boundaries and just budgeting, right? So this is where I'm going to bring those two together. So there's a connection between your personal and business finances. And I really, after doing some research and talking about this, we realized it really starts with like your upbringing and your relationship with other people and your financial habits. So when you think about it, it's like if you ask yourself, well, what did I see in my household growing up? Were we frugal or were we frivolous? Right? Did my dad manage the finances or my mom? Right? Like who managed it? What did they teach me about managing finances? Did I have a piggy bank? With my daughter personally, I have her keep a checkbook and she's 8 years old. And every time, she gets $10 for, doing her chores or a birthday gift, I have her update her register, right? Her check register. And if she takes money out to buy her Robux, she has to deduct it, right? But that's my way of establishing good, healthy, like financial systems, responsibilities, and boundaries too. But just being able to manage your finances. So asking yourself, well, what was my upbringing? How did we manage our finances in our household? But all of those habits that you have really is going to inform how you're going to manage your business finances, right? So if you have a sense of what your household expenses are, how much you need to bring in, how much you should be spending in these various categories, you can apply that same approach and knowledge to how you're going to manage your business finances. Obviously, it's a bit more because you're talking about paying people. You're going to have more subscriptions. There's a lot more involved in business, but still, how you manage your business finances is a foundation of that, right? So if you're a good steward over your personal finances, you're going to be a good steward over your business finances. If you go to the next slide, Barb, please. So again, if you're a good steward over your personal finances, you want to think about, well, how's my credit, right? How's my bank balance? All those different things. Your personal credit actually affects your lending opportunities. So when you're starting a business, the lenders are going to ask you or ask to pull your credit, right? They want to know, well, how much debt do you have? What's your payment history? Because again, if you're responsible, right, and good at managing your personal finances, you should be good at managing your business finances. So they want to be able to see that through your credit, right? They want to see you have a good payment history. You have a decent credit score. You're not, maxing out all of your cards. You're keeping it at 30% or less of what you spend on your credit limit. They want to see all those different things. And if they feel like, okay, well, you are responsible with your personal finances, sure, we can lend you money for your business because we know that you're going to pay us back, right? And you're going to be a good steward over this loan. Um, I also want to say that it's an opportunity for you to build credit for your business. So at the beginning, you may have a lender that uses your personal credit, but after some time, once you establish credit for your business, they no longer look at your personal finances. You can just apply for credit just with your business EIN, and that's it. Not even include your personal information, which is really good because you want to be able to keep the two separate. If you are a business owner, you know it's so important to keep your personal and your business expenses separate. So this is a great way to do that. And at the beginning, you may use a personal credit card for your business and just designate that card for it. But then over time, you'll be able to apply for credit for your business on the other end once you show income is coming in and your business is pretty steady.
Next slide.
Please, thank you. So establishing goals for your business is a boundary. So we talked about your personal finances affecting your business and how being good stewards over the monies. But really, when you're going through the process of, all right, well, what are my goals for my business? What are my target goals? How am I going to grow my business? You want to think about your targeted goals. How do I get from A to B? And then you want to create a budget to build that roadmap to bring you from A to B, right? And that's a boundary. So I like to use a GPS as, an example, right? Because everyone has used, I hope at least, use a GPS, in their lives, whether it be on the phone or back in the day, there was like an actual GPS we used to mount to our dashboard or whatnot. And we would put in a destination, right? We knew where we wanted to go. We wanted to end up. So think of that as your targeted goal, your destination. Now, once you hit start and you want to see what the directions are, the GPS will start to tell you where to head, right? First, you at this light, you're going to take a right or you're going to take a left. Up, you missed your turn. Take a bust a UE, I call it. Turn, U-turn, and then redirect and go where you need to be. And that's your budget, right? So you're creating that roadmap and you know what your targeted goal is. It's like, well, how do I get to my goal, right? What's my roadmap? What is my GPS telling me? Okay, I need to hire someone to help me hit that targeted goal. I need to hire a salesperson to drive traffic or a marketing person to drive traffic to my site or to my business, right? To convert them into sales and to land those clients to increase my revenue. What are my costs associated with that? Do I need an office? What's the rent? What are my utilities, copier, telephone, internet, all those different things? That's you building out your plan. That's your boundary because that's how you're going to run your business and you're going to operate within that budget, right? You're not going to go and buy a $2,000, espresso machine for the office. No, because that's not in the budget. You are working within your budget. My budget line says I have $200. Well, let's go to staples.com or Walmart and let's see what we can get for $200. That's it. So really, once you establish your goals, you're going to set your boundaries. That's really going to help you inform a lot of decisions that you make for your business. Can we do this? Yes or no. Will this bring us closer to our goal? Yes or no. And that will help you determine how you're going to utilize your time, how you're going to use your time for your business and utilize your resources. And your biggest asset in your business, if you have and people working for you, are your employees. How are you going to use their time to help you achieve your goals, right? So important. Next slide, please. So boundaries help you, boundaries influence how you run your business. So I had mentioned your guiding posts, right? To help you make certain decisions in your business. The same applies to the type of clients that you want to work with. So number one, you should know what your target audience is. Who are the people are you targeting, right? Who are the individuals that you want to serve? Who are the individuals that you want to sell your goods to? And that will tell you whether or not the client that approaches you about your services or your goods is the right client or not. How do you set your price points and what clients? You may have businesses that are starting off. That's maybe your target. You may have businesses who are much more established, bringing in a certain amount of money every year. That may be your target. You may only work with multi-million-dollar companies. That may be your target, right? Are they for profit? Are they nonprofit? What's your target? But if you are clear on what your targeted goal is and you're serving, your boundary, that will then tell you, well, what the parameters are for the type of clients that you are going to work with. That will help you achieve your goals, right? You're not entertaining clients that you should not be working with, right? Because you end up using more resources probably than you need to. And then you're not going to make the money that you want to make. So really, it's creating those blinders almost, or just keeping you hyper focused on what the goals are, the type of people you should be working with. And as Barb was talking, I actually wrote a couple of notes. Things, of course, popped into my mind. And this always happens every time we talk or we're in the same space. Something new pops up to mind. So I thought about even like a PO system. Some people may be familiar with it, some maybe not, like a purchase order system. So you have a budget, and a purchase order is when someone wants to purchase something in the business, right? They have to get pre-approval before they can go and purchase it. Usually they're required to get quotes from a vendor and make a list and bring it to the approver to approve the purchase order before they can go buy the goods. That's a system. That's a boundary, right? You have to get pre-approval before you can spend any of the business's money. But most importantly, does this align with our budget and did we budget for it, right? That is a boundary. That's a system built around a boundary. Another example is IT, right? Your systems around IT. You cannot use your work email, let's say you have a team, your work email for personal use, right? For security reasons, right? Data breaches, all those different things. Those are boundaries. You are setting parameters for safety reasons, but still it all ties back to how you operate and run your business and how you manage your finances. If you had a virus that corrupted your entire, system and network, that's going to cost you money to hire an IT team to come in and deal with the situation. You didn't budget for that. But to prevent it from happening, you're putting systems and boundaries in place to avoid those things from happening. And again, you don't have this unexpected cost to deal with. A boundary, right? Human resources, the type of people that you hire, right? Who should be a part of your team and who shouldn't? That is a boundary. Who are you allowing within your circle? What type of skill sets do they have? The experience. That all ties back into your budget. How much can you afford to pay a particular person at a type with a type of skill set, right? Sometimes it's costly to hire someone that doesn't work out because you have to go through the process of hiring someone else new. Post the job again, interviewing, training, all those different things. That costs money. But if you're being planful and you're very clear about the type of person that you need and you plan ahead about how much you can pay and do your research, again, that's all a part of that budget and that plan. That is a boundary. So all these various components, even though we're talking about finances here, finances touch a lot of different things. I look at it as like a cobweb almost, like it just touched so many different areas of your business. And so it's not just, yes, finance, but you want to think about human resources, IT, all these other components that funnel up into the business that ultimately go back to that budget and those goals that you establish, those boundaries, right? So hopefully that made that clear, was able to make that connection for
Love,
you.
love that you talked about us like a system of boundaries, because that's one of the things that I do with my clients, especially my private clients, is I help them create a system of boundaries that kind of protect them in all different realms of their lives.
That's right. That's right. And that's key, right? Even down to looking at your financial reports. A lot of businesses don't. They're kind of just operating, operating, operating. You're not looking at the performance of your business. How do you know if you're doing well? You have to look at your numbers. What was the goal? What was the plan, the budget, right? And how did you perform? Are you short? Did you not reach your revenue goals? Did you spend more than you thought? How can you recalibrate? So something that you made very a good point earlier, Barb, that info versus ammo, right? Don't get upset, right, when you don't hit your goals or you overspend. Okay, well, what's the information? What's the data? What is it telling you? How do you recalibrate from there, reassess, adjust and move forward? That means you need to either change a lever or flip it up or down, cut back on something, but the information is there, and that's your opportunity to adjust accordingly and then move forward. That's how the multimillionaires are growing their business based off of data and information, right? So thank you, Bart, for bringing that up. I wrote that down. I was like, yes, info and not ammo, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to look at it as a bad thing. It's like, here's our information. What is our data telling us? Even thinking about marketing, the key question, how did you hear about us, right?
Mhm.
How did you hear about us? Great. A lot of people, we're getting a lot of traffic through word of mouth. Well, maybe I don't need to pay $2,000 for this billboard every single year,
Mhm.
right? I need to work on customer service and, my clients because they're happy with our service. How can we continue to build off of that, right? Um, so the data is so important. And lastly, boundaries will help you help mold you as a leader. Honestly, you're responsible for setting those boundaries and enforcing them. So checking in with your team, right?
Mhm.
Here's our metrics. Here's the information. We are doing great. Like we've exceeded our Q1 goal. Great job, guys. Or it may be, we're under by 10, 15 grand. What happened? Right? How are you using that information and those boundaries to really set the priorities with your business or even share the information with your team? Um, Another thing too is even down to, I thought about a credit card limit as well. That's a boundary. If you have a team and they have a credit card, setting a limit to ensure they don't overspend, spend a
Mhm.
boundary. So as a leader, you're responsible for understanding what those boundaries are in all the various parts of your business. And like Barb said, those systems, right, in place to ensure that they work cohesively. If you go to the next slide, Barb, please.
Um, I'm hitting the down button and it's not doing anything.
Uh-oh.
And I know there's more slides. Let me
Try
hit this.
like clicking on the screen or something. Sometimes
Oh,
if you click off, there
There
you
we
go.
go.
Yeah, that's happened to me.
Thank you. So just a few takeaways, and Barb, please chime in. Um, so understanding your personal and your business values, understanding your personal business values and use them to establish your boundaries. Again, what do you believe in personally? And that usually informs how you're going to operate your business, right? The boundaries that you're going to establish and set in place. How are you managing your personal finances will help you set boundaries for how you're going to manage your business finances. All right, did you? I guess you'll just chime
No,
in when
I mean,
you're
I feel like you got, yeah.
okay. Um, Use the boundaries to set goals. Use those boundaries, excuse me, to set goals for your business and to develop a budget. Boundaries will help you identify the type of clients you want to work with and mold you into the leader that you want or need to be, rather, not want to be, but need to be, or probably both, actually.
Mhm.
And there's a thin line between how you manage your personal and business finances. So establish boundaries to help you be a good steward of your money. Again, how you manage your personal finances again informs how you're going to manage your business finances. And if you're not there yet, like Barb said, everyone is teachable, right? My suggestion would be to start with your personal finances. Get that all figured out, right? Are there subscriptions you can get rid of that you haven't used in forever? Can you set a limit on how much you spend on eating out? Or if you decide to eat out and you don't like to cook, fine, but don't buy a whole bunch of groceries and have them rot in your fridge, right? Set a budget and a limit around all those things. And understand what the household expense is and function and operate within that. Then carry the same systems over into your business and do the same thing. But also, too, let me take a step back. Understand what your personal goals are for yourself. Is it buying a house, getting a new car, having X amount of money in your retirement or savings, buying a dream vacation home, moving and retiring in Italy? What is that? That is a goal that you're going to work towards, and you're going to help build a budget that's going to help you get there over X number of years. The same thing in a business. How big do you want your business to be, right? What are the milestones and the steps that you need to take in order to get there? And what's that budget, that roadmap, that GPS that you're going to build every single year to get you closer to those targeted goals? So that's it for me.
Love it. So one thing that I want to reiterate that Chantel said there was you're teachable. So if your finances have been a mess, you can change them. I know I had to get help with that. Years ago I went to Consumer Credit Counseling Services. I don't even know if they still exist, and they helped me enormously. Because I wasn't going to declare bankruptcy, and they're like, that's insane. This is your circumstances exactly why we have bankruptcy. But then I had to get someone to help coach me to learn what was the thinking that was going on for me. So I mentioned earlier, my lack of boundaries was the reason that I had all that credit card debt. One, I was trying to manage my image with other people. I tried to keep up with the Joneses, so to speak, and not so much like my neighbors and stuff, but when I went out with friends, I wanted them to think I could afford things that I could not. So I cared way more what other people thought about me than what I thought about me. And then I also did a fair amount of fixing and rescuing and saving other people with my finances, even though I couldn't afford it. So I needed to work with someone to help me stop that and figure out like what was going on with that. And then I also needed, when I started my business, to work with somebody like Chantel to help me not apply my old habits of thinking in my personal life to my business life. So get help if you need it. All right. I think Jen already put a message. If you have questions, you can put them in the chat. But if you want to follow up with either one of us individually, here's our contact information. So you can email me directly, barb@higherpowercc.com. If you want to go to my website, I do have a bunch of free stuff about boundaries for people on my website. You can just explore your way around there. And then my favorite place to hang out on social media is on Instagram, and I'm at Higher Power Coaching. I have a ton of free stuff about boundaries on Instagram. I do reels Monday through Friday, 1-minute reels all about boundaries. Chantel, you want to share your contact information?
Absolutely. Thanks, Barb. So you can, if you're interested in the services or just have a question, feel free to email us or go to our website at innovativeconsultingct.com. I offer 15-minute free consultation calls. Some individuals know what they're looking for, like, hey, I just need this. And sometimes just like, I'm not sure what I need help with. I know I need help something in the back office, and we can talk through it. I can either say, hey, yes, we can help you with that, or refer you to someone who can. But just starting somewhere, right? And just taking the initiative to say, I just need help with this, as Barb had said. So reaching out to either one of us, and two, I send people her way. She sends people my way. We'll figure it out, and we'll get you to the right person that you need to be working with. And the same as Barb, I hang out a lot on Instagram as well. And I enjoy watching Barb's reels. And honestly, I envy how much she can prepare all those reels. I'm like, I could do 3 a month, okay? That's as much as you get from me. But we also post a lot of tips as well, and a lot of information. So just follow us and yeah, get all the information that you can from the page. And
Wonderful.
thank you.
Yes,
Yeah.
stop sharing the screen now.
I have a
When you said
question.
you did a 15-minute consultation, I want to say I also do a 30-minute Better Boundaries call with people. So if that's something that you're interested in, you can email me and I'll send you the link to sign up on my calendar for that. But
Yes.
I have a question.
okay.
That's a me question, but I'm sure other people will have it. So in a lot of this presentation, you talked about having personal boundaries and then business boundaries. But can you talk a little bit about boundaries when you're starting a small business and going between like your personal life and your business is not always black and white? So like saying, no, I'm gonna give myself Fridays off, and like having that be a boundary, like having how to set those when your goal is predominantly to forward your business at the expense of potentially your personal life.
Yeah. So Julia put a comment. I don't know if it went on Facebook or not, but she said,
I can put it on Facebook.
okay, so she talked about one of the most important personal boundaries in the beginning is to open a business account, which I did not do, by the way, right away. And that was not cool for me to do. And when I finally did, it was like this huge celebration and it gives you clarity. That's the thing about having boundaries is it gives you clarity about your business. But I can also say, like, when I very first started, I used my personal email. Don't do that. Like, getting clear, like this, like it's an actual business. When I like bought a domain name and got an email account that had to do with it and had it separate, my calendar is separate, you know, all that sort of thing. But like, I've learned in the process of forming healthy boundaries and also my 12-step recovery, I talked about this. I personally need an enormous amount of self-care. I grew up in a dysfunctional family and experienced what's called relational trauma. So my system has like, it's easy for me to get activated and I don't operate well. So I need a lot of self-care. So I know for my business, I'm never going to work 60, 70, 80 hours a week. I'm not going to work 15-hour days. It's not going to serve me. So if I can't, one of my values is my health. So how do I have a business such that I can take care of myself? Now, maybe your health, maybe that's not a priority for you. Maybe you do want to work 60, 70, 80 hours a week and you do want to work 15 hours a day. That's okay. That's your life. You get to decide how you want to do it. But if you decide how you want to live your life and then you live your life that way, that's called having healthy boundaries. But if you end up working 60, 70, 80 hours a week and 15 hours a day, and that's not what you really wanted, that's not living your life on purpose. And I'm advocating for you to make choices ahead of time, how you want to live your life, and then do it accordingly. So if you say, I'm only going to work 40 hours a week and I'm not going to work on weekends, but you find yourself working 60 hours a week and working on weekends, then something has to change in either your business. Maybe your business isn't sustainable. Maybe you need to bring other people on, or maybe you need to get a part-time job so that you can hire somebody to do like the back office stuff of your business that's taking up all your time. Like you decide based on what's important to you. Those are my thoughts.
And just to piggyback on what Barb says, even thinking of a system or being able to manage your time, right? So that's a really good example. And I think everyone starting a business and even just being either a part-time, full-time business owners, managing your time is very hard. That's something even still to today I struggle with, and setting those boundaries. I know them, they're there, but I've recently and personally have been setting a lot of time off on my calendar. And I use that to set those boundaries and manage my time between home and work. Being more planful ahead of time so I don't overbook myself. Blocking off Mondays and Fridays. I don't take any meetings those days. I only take meetings in between. I get to start off my week, going through my emails, seeing what's going on, plan out the rest of my week, and use Fridays to wrap up my week so it doesn't spill over into the weekends. I have 3 kids. I have a lot of little people I have to run after, right? So those boundaries are very important. But even what Barb said, as far as like separating the emails, separating things as much as possible when you're starting a business. And it's hard, right? Because you're using your personal finances to start your business. So sometimes it's like, if I make money, it's fine if I, you swipe it to buy gas or whatnot. It's like, no, creating the good habits up front and separating the two and setting those boundaries ahead of time will help you continue to grow your business and um, in the right way, number one, and keep the two separate. So boundaries, 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 and finding
Yeah.
the systems that work for you too. And then another thing I want to mention too is when you're starting a business, and this is something I went through a lot, is just being comfortable with saying no, understanding your capacity, and knowing what things you can entertain and what things that you can't. Um, and so, Barb approached me about a great opportunity actually recently. And genuinely, the first thing I want to do is like, yes, and I had to say, Chantel, what is on your plate? What do you
Mhm.
have time to do? It's shiny, you want to, and it's Barb, but it's like realistically, you can't, right? And then ultimately, that avoids like the disappointment when you can't deliver, you overcommit and you underdeliver, all those different things. Just being real with yourself is very important, and that's key. And it's something you will struggle with as starting a business because you're committing yourself to like a full-time job and you commit yourself right to your business. So trying to find that balance is key.
Right. So we had a question come in the chat. Are there any resources that we can look into after the webinar? So they know about Julia's office hours and your availability for free consultations, but what about other websites or books? And where have you gone to study more about how to do this?
Sure. So I'll have to look through my phone on resources. I listened to a couple of audibles so I can share those titles, um, mainly around business finances. Give me a moment. But we are actually in the process of creating a new blog on the website, so we will have resources for you to read up there. Everything ranging from bookkeeping, human resources, IT, some taxes. We don't manage taxes, but we do provide some tax tips as well. Um, so a really good book that you could read into. But I read Clever Girl Finance, if you want to take a look at that.
Mm.
It's a real good one. Um, I have another one here, but honestly, you can really just, another one is The One Thing. That's a really good way to focus on one thing at a time. We have the tendency to try to move a lot of projects forward and split ourselves and spread ourselves things when in reality we need to just focus on one thing at one time. So The One Thing is a really good book as well. So I would recommend those two there.
For me, I would say I have, I think, 18 episodes of my podcast specifically about boundaries. And so there's a page on my website. If you go to My Issue Is, and it's setting, click on the Setting Boundaries menu, that has some free resources on boundaries, as well as links to all like 18 of those episodes on boundaries. And I think for me, understanding boundaries from a bunch of different angles is really what really helps you internalize it. I'm also working on, I'm about to pilot for the second time a VIP day called Feminine Biz Boundaries to help women entrepreneurs in one day really establish healthy boundaries in their business. So stay tuned with me for that. My pilot is in July, so I expect to be offering it to the public by August. Um, and I also have a goals and accountability group for small business people where we meet once a month as a group for an hour and set our goals for the month. And then every other week, each of those people gets a 15-minute one-on-one coaching session with me where I help motivate, inspire, and hold them accountable to their goals. They're not necessarily, they're often financial, but they're basically boundaries in their business. Like, how do I, and like, I have one person that's in the group who has been wanting to create videos for the longest time, to create something that she sells one time and it's residual income, but she always puts it aside for her clients' work. And so in working with me, she's learning, like, I can't have this residual income if I never make the damn videos. And so she's being able to like really focus on doing the thing that's going to expand her business and allow her to make more money, and say no to the kinds of clients that she doesn't want to work with anymore because she's got more income coming in.
Yeah, and
One other thing I wanted to share, actually, when Chantel was talking about boundaries, I was thinking of something but both she and I have established since we've known each other, and that is an office space. So I used to work in various places in my home, and I had this spare bedroom that, especially during COVID, not using. I'm like, why don't I just turn that into an office? And having one place where all of my business stuff is and where I do my work all the time has helped enormously. And Chantel actually created an office outside of her home. Do you want to share about what that's been like?
Yes, it's been amazing. So we recently opened our office in Woodbridge. It's a really, really nice space, 3 private offices. We actually turned one into a conference space recently, nice big TVs, which is cool. And I find it, at first I was big on just working from home, and I still kind of work from anywhere. Right now I'm actually in a cabin in East Haddam in the woods. So I'm happy I have great service here, but you know, being able to work virtually, but is nice to just have a space to just go to every day and leave my work there too. So that has allowed me to just cut back on those late nights emails and just being on the computers all the time, just being able to separate it. I have an office at home as well in our downstairs space, but the laundry room is right next to me. So sometimes I will end a call, do laundry, and that, you know, still I would get caught up in at home, you know, in the home task and duties that I need to do. But going to an office, doing what I need to do, and then just coming home has been great. So yes, it's been amazing.
Yeah, I close my office door every night at the end of the workday. I close the door.
Yeah. It's good. It's a good feeling for sure. Yes.
And there are a number of fantastic co-working spaces in New Haven.
Like Known, which is where
Like
I'm at right
Known,
now.
Yes.
I'm broadcasting from the media lounge.
Oh, yeah, I was going to
Known
say you must be
Co-working.
in the media room.
Yeah, which is 139 Orange Street on the 4th floor. And we actually have a deal this month. It's $29 a day for a day pass, and you get all the business services and all the coffee you can drink, etc. But this month, if you buy 3 day passes, you get 2 free, and you're able to come Monday through Friday 9 to 5 for those. And we have all kinds of different types of seating and places to be, and we have networking every Friday from 3 to 5.
And I've used that space myself too before I had gotten my own office, and it's phenomenal. It's beautiful. First off, I just like the whole vibe.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the work environment, just like the soft music, the plants, and just the various areas that you can work, and just finding like your comfort, right? And one of their spaces. So I would definitely check that out for sure.
And of course, there's I've Squared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
yeah, if
districts.
you need just a space to be out of your house for a little bit, we have tables that you can plug your computer right into, and we're surrounded by awesome books and tools and machines. We have a number of books on boundaries in the library, but we also have a book that I haven't read yet, but I'm kind of excited about, called Money Smart Solopreneurs, a personal finance system for freelancers, entrepreneurs, and side hustlers, which I think sounds really interesting, about a complete guide for like how to start a solo business while mitigating the financial risk to you as an individual.
Yes.
So I think that would be really great. And I'm at I've Squared most days, Monday through Thursday, definitely. Fridays and Saturdays we rotate who works, but somebody is there. And we are happy to put you in touch with Barb or Chantel if you have further questions and forget their contact information. This is recorded on, it'll be on Facebook for perpetuity. Eventually it will also make it up onto our I've Squared YouTube page, so it's not going anywhere. You can find them, and we know them and love them. So with that, I actually do have to go cover a desk shift.
Okay.
So I am
Me
going
too.
so I am going to say thank you for joining us. Feel free to comment on the Facebook if you have any other questions. We do check it pretty regularly, so we can forward your questions over and get back to you. And if you need anything else, feel free to contact us at ivesquared@nhfpl.org. You have a great rest of your day, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
Bye. Thanks.
Thank
Have a good
you.
day.
It's been a pleasure. Take care.